Michaela Tai, Head of Visual Arts and Director of the Venice Project, as well as Niwa Maburaja, Project Officer. We form part of the growing visual arts team here at Creative Australia and will be some of the individuals that the successful artistic team will be working with. I am joining this online conversation from the unceded lands of the Wurundjeri Wurrung people of the Kulin Nation, a place where I have the privilege to live safely, learn freely, and practice solidarity. Creative Australia recognises the unique place held by Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples as the original owners and custodians of the lands and waterways across this beautiful and diverse continent, with histories of continuous connection dating back more than 60,000 years. We also acknowledge the enduring cultural practices of caring for country and cultivating cultures undertaken by First Nations people and elders. At Creative Australia, non-Indigenous staff also benefit every day from working with First Nations staff who share their capacity so generously with us. For all of this, I pay respect to elders past and present, and I extend this acknowledgement of First Nations sovereignty to the lands you are joining from across this continent, and also acknowledge First Nation peers joining us in this virtual space today. Always was, always will be Aboriginal land. I am sitting in my living room and it's quite a big, bright space. I have on glasses and I'm sitting down at a chair. I'm very, very excited to be in this conversation today. And as we talk through Creative Australia's call for expression of interest from artistic teams for the Venice Biennale 2026. The conversation is going to last about 45 minutes. You can access live captions directly in the Zoom window by toggling on/off the live transcript button at the bottom of your screen. You can also see we are joined by 2 Auslan interpreters today. Thank you both for being here. This information session, across this information session, Michaela, Niwa, and I will discuss the current open opportunity with you all, provide an overview, and then basically finish off with a big focus on answering any particular questions you may have. Throughout the session, you can contribute by submitting your questions through the Q&A function in the bottom menu of the Zoom window. We hope to maintain as much discretion throughout the conversation today and really encourage you to submit your questions anonymously where possible. The application process for this opportunity occurs in 2 stages. Stage 1, which is open now, and that will be placed into the chat window shortly. With this stage 1, it is an expression of interest submission, and applications close 3 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time, 8th of October. So just be very aware of the daylight time savings, daylight savings change, because we got stuck a little bit in previous cycles with this. Stage 1 submissions will be assessed and shortlisted applicants will then progress to stage 2 to prepare a full artistic proposal for the Australia Pavilion. The guidelines are just now in the chat by my colleague Niwa, thank you. I encourage you to have a look at them as we're chatting through today. I'll now pass on to Michaela to provide an overview of the project and outline in a bit more detail with Niwa what applicants should consider when they're putting together their artistic proposal. Thank you.
Thanks, Tamina. Hello, everybody. I am joining today from the office, which is on Gadigal land, and I also pay my respects to elders past, present, and emerging. I'm very excited to be here. This is our first formal thing that kicks off 2026, and it is always exciting to be in the speculations phase of what could happen, what could be, and what's coming next. So thank you for giving up your time to spend this moment with us as you're thinking about putting in an application. We've had 42 distinguished contemporary visual artists who have exhibited under the Australia banner at Venice. It is, as we all know, a really significant international visual arts event that allows Australian contemporary art and stories to be connected to wider contemporary art discourses. To be selected and to participate in this offers Australian artists and also curators with a really high-profile international opportunity that allows you to connect, network, and grow markets and grow your context and grow your audience for your works and what you do in your practice. So when it comes to putting in your application, it's an opportunity for you to present a concept that you feel is really timely in this moment and really needs to meet that kind of audience under this kind of very old in some ways, but very traditional National Pavilion style moment. So it really is around timeliness, and what you think about your work really makes sense in this moment for Australia to be presenting forward into that sort of context. We are looking for proposals that are creatively ambitious, that engage with contemporary global conversations, that are thoughtful and respond to the architecture of the Australian Pavilion, and are considerate of the audiences who visit the Venice Biennale across its entire opening period. And this is really critical because it is a really, really long exhibition. It runs from April until November. It encompasses the madness of vernissage, where you have really key industry folk that come through in a very high-paced, very quick viewing cycle, to people that are coming off cruise ships for the rest of the tourist season during summer. So it's a really interesting cross-section of people, but it's also a very demanding viewing experience, which means that people are really trying to see the Biennale when they should spend weeks in about a day or 2 days. So it's really thinking about the audience and how you are thinking about your work and engaging with them. And critically, the last thing we're really looking for is the timeliness of the presentation. Why this work? Why now? What has it got to say, and what is it adding to the conversation? And where is it placing Australia in that conversation as well? So we really encourage you to have a go, to dream ambitiously and apply, and encourage other people to as well. Please don't discount yourself. There's a lot of talk, I know people I've spoken to have reached out already, about perceiving your own readiness for this opportunity. The readiness is actually decided by the panel that will look at these things. So allow yourself to put forward your ideas and to speculate on what you could be, what you could build. It's an exercise that's fantastic to do anyway. But there is no systematic, we don't know who the industry panel will be yet. There is a long list for that, but we do choose that once everything is, people have applied, to make sure there's not too many conflicts of interest. So there is no preconceived idea or what could be or what could happen. So don't think it's about a system of formula or past appointments. It's about what comes in and what makes sense for now. I also want to take this moment to acknowledge that we're in a strange year. Australia has never won the Golden Lion before. We're very, very lucky to have Archie making such an amazing work that was recognised for its really large global importance. And it does feel weird maybe to be applying in the year that comes after that. Really don't overthink that. What I can say is that we have more resources now. We are in the final process of appointing a production manager to join our team, so you'll have more support in our team. There is sort of a real sense that this project has the structure to really support works all the way to that kind of acclaim. So it's a great year to be coming in and applying with that. So when you're thinking about your application and what you're thinking about putting into it, really think about those ideas of timeliness, what you're trying to put forward, and the idea and the storytelling. This first stage is really around the idea. The technical ideas, the how, the what, the why, and how we're going to make it happen, operational, will come later. But right now we're looking at this artistic idea. So Niwa, I will hand over to you to talk through the guidelines.
Thank you, Michaela. I would also just like to acknowledge that I'm right next door to Michaela on Gadigal country at the Sydney offices. So a few additional things to note before my quick overview of the guidelines. The first one is that there is no specific theme in your ideas or the application. That's completely up to you. And proposals may focus on presenting one artist or a group of artists. Similarly, there can be one curator or a group of them. The one thing that we do ask is that you don't list the same individual as a curator and the artist, as basically that will render the application as ineligible. So in the end, we do need an artistic team, which includes at least one artist and one curator. As I'm sure many of you know, Creative Australia is the commissioner of Australia's the national participation at the Venice Biennale, and we'll work closely with a successful artistic team to manage and produce the exhibition within the Australia Pavilion. And stage 1 of the EOI application will ask for the names of the artists and the curators, the title, a short overview of your idea, and support material items. Basically, this can be distilled to a who, what, and why. And we encourage you to please refer to the guidelines, which I put in the chat earlier. as there is specific requirements for the support material which should be followed to ensure your submission is eligible to be assessed. Some of these specifics include maximum page count, font size, the way you should name the PDF documents that you submit as part of your support material. In 2026, and this is important, we will not accept any pictorial material relating to your exhibition proposal for the first stage of the EOI. So that's because this is a brief application, and visual imagery will follow at a later stage should you be successful. So both the EOI and the shortlisted stage 2 proposals will be assessed by a panel of independent advisors, including national and international visual arts experts. And this is in similar convention to the 2024 process. Yeah, 2024. And the names of the industry advisors will be provided in the 2025 year once the successful artistic team is announced. So applications will be assessed on 3 assessment criteria, and I'll hand over to Michaela to talk through that.
Thanks, Niwa. I'm just going to doubly endorse Niwa's statement about not needing imagery for this first stage. It's really not necessary. It's around the idea, the speculation of what you're going to do. Imagery is something that we will look at and support you to do for stage 2, but it really is fundamentally about the idea for stage 1. So when you're outlining your exhibition proposal, what you should think about with the assessment criteria, particularly when describing what the concept is and why you're proposing this concept and team, there are 3 things. There are only 3 criteria that we're looking at this point. The first is quality. And the selection panel will be really considering the quality of the artistic proposal. They'll consider things like vision, ideas, artistic rationale, and the level of innovation, ambition, experimentation, or risk-taking. Really important here to say that you can see by the past works that have happened for Venice, they're all very different. They all take different kinds of risks in different kinds of concepts. Creative Australia is very happy to go with this risk-taking, and the team that works with you will be very supportive in how we navigate that through from our government body kind of perspective, but we're very open to the idea that this should be a place of experimentation and risk. The second is viability. The selection panel will assess the viability of the artistic proposal, and they will consider the skills and ability of the artists and curators involved and their relevance to the proposal. Really important, we're looking for evidence that you've considered and addressed audience engagement and access associated with your artistic proposal, and evidence that you've considered the international setting for the presentation. Also within that viability is the fact that we'll look at the relationship between the artistic team and if they've worked before together or how they work together and what their relationship is. And the third criteria is the selection panel will consider the timeliness of the artistic proposal. They'll consider what its contribution and relevance is to the contemporary art discourse, both in Australia and internationally. So they're the 3 key things. I think I'm handing to Tamina. Tamina, you're on mute.
Thank you. Apologies. I'm just going to briefly speak to some things to consider as you're putting together the application. Context matters. So these are also things Michaela and Niwa have reiterated, but we're doing it because it's important. Context matters. The exhibition that is being presented in the Australia Pavilion, it's one of only 29 national pavilions within the Giardini, designed as a white box within a black box. It is very much designed as a neutral palette for exhibitions to be housed within it. You can refer to the floor plan and images provided in the guidelines to assist you with your proposal. Again, in this stage 1 EOI, we are not wanting any pictorial representation, but it is good to understand the space that you're going to be exhibiting within. Keeping in mind full details of the particular pavilion will be provided to stage 2 shortlisted applicants as well when they submit their detailed visual proposals. Large slabs of black concrete give the pavilion a dark exterior. Some panels fold open, namely the main entrance, and a panel that opens out to a window to the canal, which you can see is being used in this particular exhibition for Kith and Kin. The successful artistic team will have access to the internal gallery space and selected external areas, including the entrance deck. You can propose off-site components for your presentation, but we encourage you to keep the pavilion as the main focus and central to your presentation. At the base of the gallery space, the gallery itself is 5 meters in height. The gallery dimensions are almost square, 14.9 by 15.9 meters, with a total floor area of about 236 square meters. So it is quite a large volume to in-capture. The pavilion has a presence within the Giardini, but it is tucked away, and we encourage you to consider the pavilion's context, architecture, and position when you're considering your idea. It is critical to address the unique audience as well when preparing your proposals. A public audience that is engaging with an exhibition in short visits over an extended duration of presentation, which is over 8 months. The Venice Biennale audience oscillates between curators and art sector individuals, and it changes throughout the season. So that you're informed as much as possible, we also need to mention that the Venice Biennale project is a multi-pronged international project. Whilst the exhibition itself is the major component of the project, artistic teams will also be busy with national and international media engagement, requests and planning with PR teams, participation in key events for the project, and involvement in some aspects of the communications and audience engagement strategy. The intensive development and making period for the Venice Biennale 2026 will commence around February 2025 and very much ramp up in August 2025. Media and PR engagements ramp up from November 2025 and will naturally peak very close to the exhibition opening. Applicants should be prepared and consider the time commitments and collaboration approach with Creative Australia that will be required to develop and deliver a project of this scale and nature. The successful team will work closely and collaboratively with Creative Australia from inception through to de-install. Working on a project of this scale offers significant support and resources to the artistic team, and that is something that Creative Australia has very intentionally embedded to facilitate an ambitious outcome and to support the artistic team's success within this. Michaela, is there anything else you wanted to add before we head into Q&A?
Not really. I guess the fact that, the whole team and the wider Creative Australia team, from the comms team to our legal team to everyone that's on board here, loves this project and loves working on it. It is really exciting for us to be in a stage of thinking about what's going to happen next and who we get to work with. We love the sort of close relationship we get to bring an artistic team's vision to life, and it's why we do our job. So this is it, I think, thinking the fact that you'll be stepping into a really supportive environment where, even though the pressure is huge, but we are definitely with you every step of the way. So if you have questions, whether it's now through the application process, that we don't maybe get to today, feel free just to reach out to us and we will get back to you. It's very much a supportive process, and it should be a great experience, whether you're successful or just going through it for the first time. So just reach out to us.
Thanks, Michaela. All right, we're going to head very quickly now into Q&A. We do have a 4-hour session. We've got some questions coming through already, but I really encourage you to ask anything that comes to mind. We're keeping it very, very anonymous, so we won't be calling out names or identifying anyone, so send through anything you have. One of the first questions here are, what types of works do the industry advice panel prefer to select? Would they accept deaf disabled stories or stories on things that impact everyone in general? So I guess the question would be, is there an anticipated theme or focus to the industry advice panel and selection process?
The answer to that is that there is no preconceived idea of what or what kind of story or what kind of work or anything like that, or what kind of artist we're looking for. We are one of the earlier countries that do this process. One, because we live far away and need to factor in shipping if we need to ship, but also we go before the actual thematic of the the Biennale is announced, we don't seek to have any alignment through what's happening in the larger exhibition that's got the single curator. We are looking for a particular story that makes sense for Australian to be within the pavilion, but it doesn't have any preconceived idea. We can only choose from what comes in. So it has to be within that selection process of what actually does come in. So we can't have a preconceived idea.
I'll hand over the next question, which is around the artistic team. Do people need to choose a curator, as someone, or can that be someone that we select for them?
You definitely need to apply with that artistic team already put together. It is a really high pressure environment. You are looking at probably the largest budget you've worked in. You're looking at meetings where there's sometimes up to 30 people because there's lots of people involved. So it's really important that the artistic team is solid and have a long-term working relationship. Long-term can actually be one show where you've worked together really closely. It could be decades where you've been supportive of each other but never actually worked directly. But you need to evidence that there is a strong working relationship between the artistic team.
Do we want to relay how many artists will be shortlisted to stage 2 at this point?
Always. I mean, I think last year they wanted to shortlist about 1 billion people, but we're very, it's a lot of work to do the second stage, and we like to be realistic. So I imagine it will be between 4 and 6 people or groups that do get through.
Okay, I think that's me. And I was trying to get some clarity, but maybe this makes sense to you, Michaela. Are peer assessors able to apply?
Yes, so peer assessment, if you're one of our many peer assessors, thank you very much, firstly, that does not discount you. This is a very separate process for that. The assessors that look at this and give us the industry advice to make the decision are generally not from that peer pool. They are much more further afield and also people that they're not necessarily applying. So if you're a peer, you can definitely apply, whether as a curator or an artist, doesn't matter.
This next question is, can we talk about the funding from the time commitment element, please? So I guess this is really just outlining the support we're giving to the artistic team, which is two fellowships for the curator and artist. So the curator fellowship is $50,000 for the full life cycle of the project, and the artist fellowship is $100,000 for the full life cycle of the project. So that includes from the original announcement through to when we hand you a very fun feedback survey to complete, which would be in 2027. Michaela, anything else you wanted to add to that?
No, just the fact that all other sort of expenses, so your travel expenses obviously are covered, per diems are covered, any sort of interstate travel or recce's, they're all covered. That is the money that's purely for your time. There is a large team that's supporting you, so some elements you can definitely give back to the team to work through. You're not expected to be doing this single-handedly on your own.
Thank you. I'm just noticing there is a raise hand. We're not doing any verbal Q&A, so if you wouldn't mind just popping your question in the Q&A function, and we'll try and get to that. I'm sorry to the person who's just raised their hand. Niwa, over to you.
Thank you. Well, this is a great question of which I have a strong opinion about, but I will definitely hand over to Michaela. Is there an appetite for successful First Nations POC presentations, given the recent success of Kith and Kin?
Yeah, of course, there's an appetite for everything. Everything is on the table. So we don't know what's going to come in. So we have an appetite for whatever makes sense within that group and what makes sense as a project for the pavilion. So there is no... People always talk about formula, like it has to be this time because it was that last year. None of that applies. In the rooms and in the criteria that we publish to you is the criteria that we give to the industry advisors. There is nothing there's nothing that comes in external to that. So it has to be what's on the table and what's put forward. So yes, there is appetite for everything.
All right, we've got a long one, so I might just tic-tac with you, Michaela, a bit
Yep.
on it. It's a four-prong question, which is very good. All right, so the first question is, within stage one, EOI, do high-level budget and creative development timelines, project schedule need to be included in this EOI stage one?
Definitely not. You do not have enough word count or font size to be able to answer that. It really is just the artistic idea. Thinking, and I can respond to this in terms of watching the industry advisors reading things last year, they're not interested in the operational aspect of it. That's for us to figure out in stage two with you. Stage one is like just thinking about what the pavilion could do, what it could impact would be for audiences that meet it, what the impact could be for the storytelling that goes beyond that. That is the kind of conversation that's around the table. So you need to really focus on getting across that storytelling or that idea of what your work is and what it's trying to do in that context.
So this stage one, which is the current guidelines that are open, is just an expression of interest. We just want to know your idea. The invited shortlisted applicants, and this goes to the second of the 4-point question, what level of detail is expected of shortlisted proposals? We will provide that information directly to shortlisted applicants. So for now, I really encourage you not to think ahead, but I love that you are. Just focus on this particular stage one EOI and present that critical idea that you have as best you can within the parameters of the guidelines. The third point of this question is curators. Do they need to be a professional curator, or can they be individuals with equivalent experience?
Yeah, sure. They can. It needs to be someone that, you know, curators and artists, it's a fuzzy profession where things start and end differently. So it's about your working relationship and how you can put forward how you would work together and why.
So it's about those boundaries within those two very distinct roles for a project this scale. Budget. In terms of the selection process, funding of the selected artists, are there any upper limits on creative development costs that would be covered by Creative Australia and its sponsors? Now, this is again heading into stage two territory, so I would again reiterate not to worry too much about the budget right now. We have very purposefully and with Michaela had many back and forths on whether we include it or not. Some other commissioners do include the budget at this stage, but Michaela, just to relay your rationale as to why not now.
Is because this is, we don't want you to go down that operational thinking. This is just about the idea. Stage two, you will be given the budget to work within, and we will work with you to make sure you can respond to that in a way that makes sense. Obviously, there's not an endless pot of money. We would like there to be, and we are always searching and supporting people and growing our Venice family to help realise artistic vision. But that's really something that's part of stage two. And you will not be discounted. If you think your idea is too big or too large or too chewy in stage one, we will work with you to figure out how that would fit into the budget in a way that doesn't challenge your artistic vision. So at this stage, it's not something we're concerned with.
Thanks. Over to you, Nima.
Thank you. Could you please explain a little more about the possibility for external venues other than the Australia Pavilion?
Good question. There's always an idea that, and there's always many pavilions that do multi-site shows. We have done that in the past. So I think it's around what you want to consider, how that makes sense to what you're putting forward. Noting that the Australia Pavilion will always remain the anchor space for it. We're very lucky to have a pavilion within the Giardini. That also comes with a large amount of responsibility and deliverables for La Biennale itself. So we do need to meet them. And if it makes sense to also do something off-site, then we can also explore that as well.
Now, this is a question around the viability criteria, and it's a wonderful grey area question, but again, maybe another jumping ahead into stage two. So the question is, does the viability criteria gesture to practical possibilities? If a work or ambitious proposal feels practically and logistically complex, is this useful to address within the stage one EOI?
Not necessarily. I would say no. We're looking for that ambition at this stage, and we'll figure that out at the next stage. There is always, even with the successful applicant, there is still a moment where we have to tie things down operationally beyond just the application and the pitching process. So we're happy to work and meet the complexity, and we're happy to meet the ambition. So don't start to overthink yourself in going down that path yet. It's really just around the idea.
I think it's over to me. One a little bit in a different direction. How can artists apply to exhibit in the main exhibition?
In the curated show in Central Pavilions, I would love to think you could apply. You cannot apply. So what will happen is they will appoint their curator, and I will probably harass them incessantly and make them come to Australia, in which they will do some research. Curators have come for the past 10 years. Almost all of them have come, unless it was during COVID, sometimes to great success with Australian artists being curated into the exhibition, and sometimes they've done masses of studio visits and no one has ended up in the show. But we will definitely be supporting and advocating for those visits to occur, and to provide all the necessary support and briefing that will fit with their thematic. So there's no way to necessarily apply, but we will be doing as much as we can to make sure that we can put forward Australian artists for that opportunity when it comes.
So this question is about the makeup of the artistic team. Is it possible to present a group show of 2 or more artists, or a curatorial team with 1 artist?
Yes, it's possible to do both those things. The makeup of the artistic team just needs to make sense in how it's supporting what you're trying to do and what you're trying to say. So it can be any format of which. The fellowships do not change. However, so it will just need to be a discussion within that team at a later stage as to how you actually allocate those fellowships for a larger team. But you can do any makeup that makes sense to your project.
And a reminder there again to not list an artist that is also a curator, and vice versa. So all individuals need to have very distinct roles. They can't, unfortunately, share roles. And that's really just because of the nature of this project, the level of time it requires. It just breeds this particular way of working. Naturally, everyone will collaborate in their own way, but we do need distinct roles within the artistic team.
Thanks, Tamina. This question is looking ahead into the future beyond the presentation in the pavilion. Is it possible to Is there an expectation that the Venice work is presented in Australia at a later stage?
I wouldn't use the word expectation. We look for the opportunity for that, but that is not the responsibility of the artistic team. That's Creative Australia's responsibility. So we will be working closely with you to look at options and to be talking with possible return venues as soon as you're appointed. Successful team is appointed. So that's something that we work on quite intently internally as well. So you're not expected to come with that packaged from the beginning at all.
This is a great question for us to answer as to our role in the project. Can we elect an exhibition manager or production manager as part of the artistic team?
No, you cannot. So we understand that people have deep collaborators that they've been working with for years, and collaborators that may form part of their exhibition design all the way through creating particular content for you. So that's expected. But in terms of the exhibition management and production management, that is done in-house. So Tamina leads that with a newly appointed production manager that we're just going through the process now, as well as Niwa. So there's 3 people that are working with the actual production and operations of the show. And that is from everything from application process through to that final survey that Tamina spoke about, but also through supporting you on the ground. We've also got Diego Carpentiero, who many of you may know, who has been our pavilion manager since the early 90s in Venice. So it's quite a well-worn team that is also very familiar with the contractors on the ground in Venice, the sort of timelines and way that we need to work with La Biennale. So we have to keep that in-house to make sure that we can keep everything on time and the best possible outcome.
And I guess I'd add to that, with, you do, whilst we're not relaying the production budget at this point, it's not endless and forever. It does have a boundary to it, and there's no need to basically double up roles when you have really an in-house range of very well-resourced individuals who can support the project. And every project is different, and the team are very aware of the fact that they need to apply themselves and be of service to the artistic team in different ways.
Great. Next question is asking, does Creative Australia see the artist's work as a reflection of the national voice on the international stage, or is it looked at as a space to highlight an artist's perspective?
One of my favourite questions to do with the project, and I think we had robust conversations with Archie before we were working around how we announced him as the artist for 2024, and a lot around the conversation about language and what language means in this moment. So a really key moment, I guess, of this is that we see this as a presentation in the Australia Pavilion rather than representing Australia. And I think that's a really key thing. The idea of representing a whole country by a single voice is impossible. So you are working as to present your work, and for this year you are the presenting artist. And I think this is about the artist's perspective, and then the timeliness comes in with around what you're tied into and what this work is engaged with both within Australia and that global conversation. But it's not a reflection of an idea of what Creative Australia thinks of as being a national idea of a voice or anything like that.
I'm going to ask and answer this first question, and then I'll ask you another one, because to give you a break if you need to get some water. This question is about guidelines around audience rating, and to advise if there is any position. There is no position on audience rating at all. Obviously, Venice receives a whole spectrum of individuals, and there is quite a significant arts education positionality on the way La Biennale also does particular school group tours. But for us, it's about the idea and how you're presenting it. It's not necessarily about the type of rating we would need to apply. So it's not necessarily a GA rating if you're talking about films and that sort of thing. Michaela, anything else to add there?
Also, I mean, I think we will work through that with you.
Yeah.
I mean, for Marco's, the G rating was actually about sound and sound
Yes.
level. So it just works in the fact that we will work in the accessibility for audiences and the kind of communications we need to give them if necessary before they step into the space. So for us this year, it's as simple as telling everyone that walks in that yes, it is chalk, please don't touch it, but they still touch it. So we will work with you, and that will evolve also around once we have the audience in the space as to what things we need to tinker with or change.
This question is about whether all members of the team have to be at minimum Australian permanent residents. Yes.
I remember the answer to this one.
So that's okay. The answer is yes. So this is mainly the artistic team. So in stage 1 EOI, we do not want to see a full list of everyone collaborating on the project. We just need to know the name of the artists and curators and the artistic team. And because you're receiving a very targeted grant, which is the fellowship for the artist and the fellowship for the curator, you need to be at minimum permanent residents of Australia. You can be based overseas, but at minimum permanent residents. In stage 2, when you're nominating the rest of your team, you can be, that team can be from anywhere. And we have had collaborations with international individuals, photographers, any type of, I guess, contributor to the publication. We've often worked with internationals with the nominated artistic team. Anything else there?
No.
Yeah.
Is it back to me? Does the curator need to be affiliated with a national institution? Will this strengthen the application? And perhaps I could also just tack on, on the flip side of that, does the artist need to be affiliated with the gallery?
No, curators can be independent. They can be working for a national institution. They can be working for a small institution. They can be independent. It does not matter. And what matters is your relationship between the artist and the curator. Yes, the artists can be represented by a gallery. They also cannot. We have historically shortlisted artists that have not been represented by galleries. That is not crucial to the production or the work itself. So no, not necessarily.
Again, I'll quickly answer this first question. Is there a fee paid to the team to develop a concept for stage 2? Yes, if you are shortlisted to stage 2 after these guidelines close, you will receive particular support, both as a fee as well as our support in your development of stage 2. But right now, we're just focusing on this EOI process for stage 1. Next question to you, Michaela, is do you consider a retrospective of a long-term artist and an archive of their work over 30 years appropriate to submit?
Yeah, it's totally appropriate to submit and I guess it just how it makes sense to that assessment criteria, which fundamentally looks at the timeliness as well as the artistic skill and the viability. So if it makes sense to have that retrospective now, then totally, yeah.
Okay, maybe I'll take a leaf out of Tamina's book and answer one and give one to Michaela. I'll answer one that I think actually has been covered, which is around travel costs and the fellowship fee. And basically, your travel costs are separate and they will be covered separately to the fellowship. And as for the question that I had in my mind is gone. Should the team identify people beyond art curator, for example, the designers or other personnel, or is the team generally considered as just the artist and curator? Maybe I'll also answer this one. For the stage 1, we really are just wanting the artists and curators, the artistic team, and so the further members of the project or the idea will be explored further at stage 2. Is there anything else I should include in that? Nope. Great. Okay, maybe this one can go to Michaela. Michaela, is there an expectation that the work is pre-organized to exhibit at the... Oh no, we've done that. I'm reading out loud and realizing things have been answered. What does an ambitious project feel, look, sound like? Things are moving very fast on my screen and now I can't find it. I think that's what I was saying.
Which one? Say it again.
What is an ambitious project? I guess it's to unpack the word ambition.
Unpack what that means. Okay.
Yeah.
So ambition it can mean a multitude of things. It could be ambition in its materiality. So this artist is pushing how they're looking at the way that they're working and what they do and pushing that into it. This is the most supported and budget-friendly way to actually bring this sort of large-scale idea to life that's testing the edge of materiality. It could be ambitious in the sense that this is an artist that is thinking about very chewy topical conversations and really trying to unpack that within an exhibition space, posing questions and challenging audiences. It's a multitude of ways. So the ambition is really, you need to think about what your ambition is as the artistic team and being really clear about that. The ambition can come in many, many forms. And we do also realize that, we'll be comparing very, very different applications. I mean, even looking at the past to Archie and Marco show, I mean, the only similarities between the two is that they're both black and white and have a restrained color palette, but they could not be more different if they tried, in terms of the fact that Marco's show was largely built online in a sort of technical system and built from Australia, while Archie's was built entirely on site. So the ambition can manifest in very, very different forms. That probably does not help anyone with their answer to that, but it's hard.
I guess it goes back to what we were saying earlier around this EOI is really asking who is the team, what is your idea and why, and to kind of weave into that. And ambition is a value really, and how you apply. that to your idea. All right, so, okay, so this is a question about how much time the artist and curators spend in Venice on average. Someone's already jumping ahead to the gondola, which I love.
There is no answer to this question. Again, it totally depends on the work that is being made. It could be that you need to facilitate the making of your work in Indonesia, and you might need to spend some time there to get the work there. There is no idea of how much time people spend in Venice. Your install could be 3 months, your install could be 3 weeks. So it's really around the project, and we'll map that, and we'll map when you go, why you go, how you go, and how long you go for, to the needs of the project itself. So that is determined. We don't tell you when you go, we work with you to figure out when makes the most sense to do it.
The second question is around eligibility of location for the artistic team. If an Australian artist were to approach this application with an international non-Australian curator, would this be competitive?
Needs to be an Australian team, so need to be minimum permanent residents on both the artistic teams, curator and artist, or curators and artists.
They can live internationally, but because our team is based here, you have to think about that. Niwa?
Okay. I mean, this one is looking a bit ahead, but I think it's probably useful nonetheless. The question is asking around fundraising, and they recall Archie doing a lot of fundraising touring pre-launch of this project. If an artist is older, do they need to have the ability to do these tours, or could the curatorial team do this?
Yep, it's how you want to do it. So we work with you to figure out the best way and best structure for that. Archie wanted to be involved, so he was definitely involved, so did Ellie. So both of them came to every place that we did state-based sort of fundraising events. But it's up to the curatorial team, artistic team, to figure out how you want to prioritise your time and how you want to deliver that. It's not a requirement at all.
So this is a question about what is visual arts? Get ready. That is really the question. Can an artist who works more predominantly in live performance apply for this opportunity?
Yeah, definitely. It's an expanded idea of what visual arts is. It's just housed within a very physical space. So I would encourage everyone to look at what has been shown in other pavilions as well. We do all the pavilions. We do have a UN meeting of all the pavilions a few times before the show goes up, where we talk about what we're doing. But I think, yeah, it's really around about why and why now and why this sort of work. I mean, Marco's was a performance of sorts. It was performed every day. It was open. And we're definitely open to the idea of movement in space performance or anything like this. It's very, it's not unusual at all within the Biennale context for pavilions to do this.
Thank you. Niwa?
Yes, the question is around industry advice and the assessment. Could you give us a sense of whether the industry advisors who are brought in to do the work are outside of Australia, I guess if they're international?
There'll be a mix. They'll be based in Australia and based overseas. And this is to do a few things. We really want the conversation in the room. When everyone's talking about the applications, we want people to be able to advocate for what has been seen and how audiences responded within Australia to the work. But we also want internationals to give a perspective of seeing, you know, for some of the internationals, it may be the first time they've met most of the applications or seen these artists before, to figure out how this will look on an international stage. And it's that actual debate that happens within the room that's really critical. So we spend a lot of time trying to figure out who those people should be in that room. And there is a very, very, very long list that has been approved by our board as part of this process. And then once all the applications are in, we seek to build a panel that enables that panel to be, number one, fantastic, but number two, that the people can be in the room for the majority of the time. If people have too many conflicts of interest, they're sitting out of the room, and then their intel is not as helpful for us. So we really try and build a panel that enables a robust conversation from a multiplicity of perspectives to really ensure that we can get to the right decision. I hope that helps.
And Michaela, on that, and you mentioned it earlier, it's the same panel who are assessing both stage one and stage two.
Yeah.
So if you're not shortlisted to stage two, your work is still being reviewed by this industry advice panel. Could you speak to that very briefly?
Yeah, I think we're paying this panel to spend a lot of time and a lot of care to read all the work that you've put together to put this application in. We have had great success with some of the artists that were not chosen in the past few years for the pavilion, but have now got very robust relationships with those people on that panel, both here and overseas, who have encountered their work for the first time as part of this process. So even just for that opportunity to have your work seen by the likes of this panel, it is a great opportunity just to really think about how you're putting yourself forward.
Okay, so this is in the EOI support materials, which is directly relating to the optional addition of providing a letter of support from an artist if they are part of a gallery, a commercial gallery. Is there anything that particular letter of support, which is optional and not necessarily required, is there anything that particular letter should cover?
No, it's more just saying that they're aware of what's happening and that they're in support of it, really. It's just making sure that we've got coverage of that collaboration.
Thanks.
Okay. A lot of budget questions, but I'll address another one. Can self-taught artists be the main person of interest in a creative team? I guess the question is, can we be one of the members of the artistic team? Or is this only for professional academic artists?
No, there is for everyone. I think everyone defines themselves very differently along the spectrum of what is professional and what is some may see as not professional artists, but it's not something that's concerning of us. It's really about the idea.
This is a very good question, and I think should be probably known to all. Can a curator apply several times with different artists in different submissions? Should that be written okayed by artists? Is that a bad thing? But the word here is weird.
Look, we generally say no. The relationship that the curator is committing to an artist should be a sole commitment. So it needs to just be one. Historically, when they have had people come in with multiple curators, both artists and artist ideas have been really strong because the curators attached to both, only one of them got shortlisted. So it doesn't advantage anybody. So it's important to have a really open conversation, I guess, at this point around how you want to work and that there is a committed relationship for that project as to go through this process.
Great. There's a question here around whether people can reach us with their questions via email up to a certain date if need be, and fundamentally before the closing date. And if so, how will all potential applicants be informed of those answers? Yes, we do have an open inbox. It's venice@creative.gov.au, and you may absolutely send us as many questions as you like in the lead up to the closing date.
And we will also update the frequently asked questions with the ones that are frequently asked. And we can tell you from today, most of the questions that are coming through are very, very similar. So we will make sure that we keep things that it is fair, and it's critical that if we're answering it to one, that everyone has access to that.
Might close then on one final question because we're almost near time, which is a unique one. Can the proposal for stage 1 EOI be about a work that has already begun but not presented? Or are we expecting, and also I guess to extend from that, can it be a work that's already been presented? What is the expectation?
It can be work that already exists. It can be expanded work on what Archie's a great example. He had done sort of what we now see as preliminary works, but are works of their own that were expanded into a larger format. It could be an extension of a work. It could be something you're working on that no one's seen yet. It doesn't matter. It just needs to make sense for the criteria of why now. Yep.
Okay, I think that's probably all we have time for, folks, unless there's any final thoughts or comments, Michaela, anyone?
No, I think it's just it's really, if you do have more questions, email us. We're more than happy. We've really Niwa and I, Tamina's going on holiday, but Niwa and I have carved out the next month to really support people through this process. So please don't be afraid to reach out to us. We encourage you all to have really fabulous discussions about ideas. We will support you through the second stage. There will be budget for second stage development for the shortlisted to figure out the operational stuff. But right now, it should be a very indulgent conversation around ideas and what could be, and getting that down on paper as your EOI.
All right, folks, thank you so much for joining us today. I know it takes a lot of time. Everyone has many commitments, so I appreciate your time and contributions to the Q&A. If there's any areas that we didn't cover, really encourage you to get in touch via the team email. So everyone on this screen, apart from wonderful Auslan's interpreter, receives that particular email address, venice@creative.gov.au. A reminder again, the applications close 3 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time. So that means that Brisbane, every other city that isn't Sydney and Melbourne is affected by that time. So please, please bear that in mind. And unfortunately, late applications cannot be accepted, so please do keep that in mind. If we haven't received your question and been able to answer it today, we will do our best to answer them via the Venice inbox. Thank you so much, everyone. Good luck with your applications.